Hey, Vaughn, greetings from chilly Tampa, Florida. Woo!
Well, it gets chilly out here too, trust me.
Not as chilly as some of the playoff games are going to be.
Right. Yeah.
We're both blood-thinned people, but that Buffalo Ravens game this weekend, it could be a little brutal.
Yeah. And you know what? At least I know for me, when it's cold like that, I never wanted to touch anybody.
No, it's like, crazy stuff. But anyway, everyone, welcome to But First Football. We are here to talk about this weekend, and it is the divisional round. So it's good that I had a few days to recover because I won't lie to you, I was extremely devastated after the Bucks loss. And I told you we cannot play at 8:30 at night. We
Mm, you did mention
cannot win
that.
those games. We can't. We need 1 o'clock games. So I'm gonna write to the commissioner and tell him that next year. Oh, but we can talk about that a little bit later. But really, I was sitting there by myself because James is out of town. And of course, it ended, at 11 something at night. So Taquito and I were sitting on the couch, and I was crying.
Oh no.
I do. I get emotional. I really thought we could win that game. But anyway, we'll talk about that later. You are going to talk to us with the fundamentals about this weekend, about the divisional round, and what we can expect and what that's like. So I will let you take it away.
Yeah, we really haven't done it all year, but I figured this was a good time to kind of do kind of a preview of the upcoming games. And first of all is the Commanders, and they'll be playing the Lions. Lions are the number one seed. And look, the Commanders absolutely have a chance. Jaden Daniels
Yeah.
has had an incredible season, not just for a rookie, but just for any quarterback. He's had a fantastic season. He's a special player. Look, next year is next year, but I'll just say everyone will take this whole offseason to dissect him and come up with a game plan. uh, and so we'll see if he regresses and has kind of a step back, or if he continues to improve. It'd be hard to stay on the trajectory he's been on. But basically, for them to have a chance, he has to be special again, just like he's been all year. He's stepped up to every challenge. The thing about the Washington, they have kind of a ball control offense, but they don't do it with the run necessarily. They do it with the passing game. And so I don't think Detroit wants to allow them to go 12 plays, not, 7, 8, 10 minutes plus off the clock so they can shorten the game.
Yeah.
I think the Lions, in order to win, are going to have to force the action. Now, here's the danger. And by forcing the action, I mean they're going to have to blitz Jaden Daniels. But he's actually been fantastic against the blitz, which
Yeah.
is tough because he's run the
He's
most against the.
slippery.
Yeah,
He's
exactly. He
slippery.
runs well against the blitz, but he also passes well against the blitz. But at the same time, I don't think they can just afford to play slow death against that offense, right? But on the other hand, Washington's defense has not been great against. In fact, they've been very bad against the run pretty much all year long. And Detroit has a very good balanced offense. They can run the ball and they can pass the ball, and it's kind of pick your poison.
Right.
Washington will probably have to put more people in the box from the secondary to try to stop the run. And if they do that, Detroit will just be happy to go over the top and throw the ball. So they're very
Well, and
capable.
and Detroit isn't that other running back is coming back, Montgomery. So they're going to have their two like
Right,
really good running backs, and of course
right.
we know they have a great wide receiver, and Goff is having a heck of a year. So yeah, they're going to be tough to stop.
And this has the potential to be a high scoring shootout because they both score in bunches.
Yeah,
So I think it'll be an exciting game. However, I'm taking the Lions.
I would agree with you. I would agree with you. I just I mean, again, we could have won that game had a few things gone our way. So while yes, Jaden Daniels is absolutely outstanding and the
Yeah.
team has made tremendous progress, I do think that maybe last week that victory was their victory. Sometimes like it just you get there and you win that, and they're going to be a little bit. The Lions for sure will be geared up, ready to go, because this is where they they've wanted. They're so hungry for this. They're so hungry for this in Detroit.
Yeah, it hasn't been like they haven't had success over the last few years. Now they're in the playoffs. They've seen the playoffs. They know what the
Yes.
intensity is like. Yeah,
Yes.
I agree. I think that's part of it as well.
Yeah.
Um, and then moving on to Chiefs Texans. The Texans struggled over the last kind of month of the season, I'll call
I'm
it.
just going to tell you, I'm the biggest Texan fan right now. Please, Texans, get it together.
I think there's a lot of people rooting for the Texans because everyone's so tired of the Chiefs and
So tired.
Kelsey, but it seemed like they got the ship righted last week. They had an explosive offensive game against the Chargers, and I want to say part of it may be, about a month ago is when Tank Dell went down. A month or
Mm-hmm.
so ago, I can't exactly remember, and so missing him. Missing the other receiver. His name escapes me right now. And now they're a month out. Maybe they're just kind of getting used to managing the offense without that. And CJ Stroud, again, he showed how talented he was last year. Again, he regressed in this second year because,
Mm-hmm.
again, teams have a lot of tape on you now and they can kind of game plan.
Right.
But last week, like I said, everything was clicking on all cylinders. The Chiefs, look, for the Texans to win, I believe they were fourth in the league in terms of sacks, and that front four is going to have to play very well and get after what is not really a great offensive line. The Chiefs' offensive line is average at best,
Mm-hmm.
and so they're going to have to put a lot of pressure on Mahomes. But Mahomes is kind of an eraser, right? He can erase mistakes with his legs, with his arm. He'll throw it crazy, wild, different angles to get the ball out. So while sometimes you don't have to get the sack, sometimes just the pressure, making him move, an errant throw here, errant throw here, there. Maybe they can get lucky, a turnover or two. That's going to have to be kind of what they do. And the Chiefs, look, they played earlier in the year. The Chiefs won it was only a one-score game, but the Chiefs has won a lot of games by one score this year.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. And we talked about that a lot. But
yeah,
Vaughn, I have to wonder, it's been 24 days since the starters have played for the Chiefs.
mm-hmm.
I feel like, I mean, yes, it gives them a chance to get healthy, of course, but to me that's a little bit of a momentum slower, And then Houston just came off this momentum builder. One of my
True.
favorite things about that Houston game was that 99-yard drive that started with the almost sack of CJ Stroud. I don't know if
Mm-hmm.
you remember that play, but that was an incredible drive, and that really gave them a lot of energy. um I don't know, I still think the Chiefs are beatable. God, I hope so.
Well, that's the thing. I think they've been beatable all year, but they find a way to win. And I happen to subscribe to the fact that winning close games is a skill, just because if you're down by 20 or up by 20, I might have mentioned it before, there's no pressure on you as a player. You really can just go out and play. But when it's tight and it's on the line, and, oh, the play's coming over me, then if you're not used to being in those situations, then you can tighten up and not play very well. So the Chiefs are used to the pressure. Mahomes, like I said, erases a lot of mistakes, and he's going to be excellent. But I think the Chiefs win it.
I don't want to say it out
I know it's not
loud.
what you want to hear, but
I know, and in my gut, I would say that they're going to win it, because my original Super Bowl pick was the Bucks and the Chiefs. So I agree with you, but I'm gonna be super happy if we're wrong.
right, right. I get that. That makes sense. Uh,
Next game.
Rams Eagles, and so this one should be good.
Interesting.
the Ram the
Interesting.
Rams have been kind of middle of the pack all year long, and then I look up and I'm like, oh gosh, they made the playoffs. I thought they were going to be out, and they make the playoffs. And they have just an excellent defensive effort last week.
No kidding.
8
Wow.
sacks, just
It
really
was
got after
amazing.
Darnold. I think
They
Darnold,
were
look,
terrifying.
well, I don't know if you'll remember years ago when Darnold, maybe it was his rookie or second year, they're playing when he was with the Jets and they're playing the Patriots, and they have him on the sideline talking about how he's seeing ghosts. Well, I don't know if you saw his face, a lot of those close-ups, it looked like he was seeing ghosts again, right? And that clip will always live forever. I was talking with my buddy Dave Chow about it. Look, a lot of those sacks were on him. He just was not letting the ball go and not
Yeah.
being very decisive.
Yeah. Yeah.
And uh,
But
so,
Vaughn, I also felt like the O line was not strong
no, they
during
definitely
that
had their
game.
moments. I'm just saying the
Yeah.
8 sacks weren't just because the Rams were so overwhelming.
Right, right,
Look,
right, right.
they have a good up and coming young defense with a lot of players who probably aren't household names.
Jared Verse,
But
Florida
maybe in a
State.
couple of years they will
Ho,
be because
ho.
yeah. They can. I mean, they're young, they're healthy. You know, the Rams stars are all on offense. Puka Nakua, Cooper Kupp, Matthew Stafford.
Mm-hmm.
Look, they haven't been world beaters like maybe they were a couple of years ago. Actually, Puka wasn't around then, but back when they won their Super Bowl a few years ago. But they've been adequate, put it that way, and. But they're running to an Eagles team that is extremely physical on both sides of the ball. Everything with them offensively starts with Saquon Barkley. They've got 2 studs at the receivers in Smith and oh geez, I can never remember
Brown.
that. Yeah, exactly. But their passing offense is kind of it hasn't
Not
necessarily
very
been in
good.
sync, right? Well, I'll be nice to say it hasn't been in sync, but they are capable. And like I said, they kind of let Saquon and that great. They have a fantastic offensive line, kind of set the pace.
Yeah.
And if you looked at last week, the Packers were dropping like flies left and right,
Yes, they were.
and it wasn't because they're not tough. It's just because the Eagles were tougher and more physical and wanted it more. And so that's what the Rams are up against. And sometimes people feel like, oh, with this roster, they should win. Well, you need to only win by one. And I think, all things being said, the Eagles will win. I just
You know
think
what's
they're
interesting that the offensive line, the center for the Eagles, the guy who took over for Jason
Kelsey.
Kelsey,
Yeah.
is going to the Pro Bowl. How crazy is that?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
everyone thought that was going to be like a big weak spot for them as this
Yeah.
guy gets going, but no,
No,
hasn't been.
look, over the years they've done recent years they've done a great job of replacing their aging offensive line guys and not missing a beat. Like they really get after it up front.
Well, so I know you're picking the Eagles,
Yes.
and I'm gonna go for an upset here, and I'm gonna pick the Rams.
Okay.
I just feel like that was like quite a performance, and I really because Florida State, where Elizabeth went, Jared Verse. First of all, how can he be a rookie? He looks like he's 40. I'm just saying, in a good way. I mean,
Right.
very handsome 40, but hard to
Right.
believe that the guy's a rookie. But I know he is because watched him at FSU last year. But I just think there might be a little, and I'm not happy to say this because it does not make me happy, McVay magic
Yep.
in there.
Yep.
There is something about that guy that is kind of annoying when you're a Bucks fan and you lose to them in the final minutes of a championship game. But it
I mean,
happens.
I won't be shocked if the Rams win. Put it that way. I think and that's kind of like sometimes as a game plan, you just want to hang around till the fourth quarter and then kind of steal the game. And I feel like
Yeah.
that's what the Rams have done all year. They've kind of hung around, and had a losing record, and then we were 500, and then we were we weren't 15-2, but we were 10-7, and we qualified for the tournament. And so yeah, they definitely have some momentum, and they got to feel good about how they played.
Yeah.
And so yeah, again I'm picking the Eagles. Don't get me wrong, but if the Rams won, I wouldn't be completely surprised.
Well, and
And
now the game of the week, the
right,
game of the life, the game of everything.
and before that, I will say over the last 10 years in the divisional round, the home teams are 29-11, and so
Whoa.
obviously that's about an upset per in terms of home team, the visitor has won about once every year, and so I guess I'm giving it up before I give the commentary, but I'm picking the Ravens. This is going to be my upset. But look, two quarterbacks playing at MVP level, both are absolutely on fire, and I kind of think they'll negate each other to a certain degree. Now I'm excited because a couple weeks ago, my fave was looking forward to these two playing different teams. But hey, who's gonna in terms of the MVP? Who's gonna step up? How is the other one gonna react? Well, now they're on the same fields, and while they're not playing against each other, they're playing against the defenses. It'll still be an exciting game. I'm
Oh
sure
yeah,
both of them are going to play out of their minds.
yeah.
Uh, Josh Allen is great. He can improvise. He's third. If there's third and medium, meaning 3rd and 5 or less, look for him to keep the ball or at least have the ball in his hand with maybe some run pass option. But look for him to run. The Ravens over the last, call it, well, I'll just say several games, their defense has been on fire. They've been playing
On
really
fire.
well. Yes,
Yes,
yes, they've been playing
yes.
really well, and I tend to think that's kind of what, again, I'm going with history, but I'm also going with I think their defense is going to play better than the Bills' defense, and Lamar Jackson seems to have, it used to be like Tom Brady. It's not like he's improvising so much as now he's kind of got the answers to the test, and it's kind of reminded me Brady back in the day. It didn't matter what you did, Brady always had the answer to the test. He
Yeah,
knew what you were going to do, whether you're going to disguise it. He knew what you're going to get to, and it seems like he's playing like that. He's got over 40 touchdowns with less than 5 interceptions, so he's playing
yeah.
out of his mind,
Out
and
of
his
his
legs are
mind.
so deadly, and
It must
I,
be that all diamond grill. When he
right.
smiled the other night and I texted you guys, did you see that? Like,
Well, look good, feel good, play good, right? So,
well, I'm
uh,
with you. I totally think the Ravens are going to win it, but I hope it's going to be an incredible game. I can't imagine how it couldn't be.
yeah,
I think it's for sure the game of the playoffs. Like, exciting.
and of course Derrick Henry, right?
Oh, yeah.
Derrick Henry is just an absolute beast back there. Just and it's so crazy because I think a lot of people, because they give you his stats about how big he is, but I think it would surprise you to see him in person and literally see how big that man is, and to be. I mean, he can take it the distance from anywhere on the field at
Oh,
any given
yes.
play, and he's just. I know everyone probably saw the clips of him just mashing people's faces with the stiff arm. Just
Yep.
it's just unfair on a certain certain level.
It is a little unfair.
And here's the thing, he's in his 9th year. And so typically running backs, because of the demands of the position,
Yeah.
usually start wearing down around year 7, 8, 9, even if they're elite. And he just doesn't seem to stop going. He just
Well,
is,
don't you think part of it is, he's on now this kind of magical team. Like his last couple years in Tennessee,
yeah,
terrible,
yeah,
But now I mean, I have to imagine that John Harbaugh is just a wonderful coach to work with. He seems to be, and then he's got this exceptional quarterback and just this whole Ravens vibe that
yes.
I
Culture.
mean, it's yeah, and it's revitalized him. And then, of course, you read about his like talk about Tom Brady and all his crazy diet. Derrick Henry has a similar
Yes.
diet and the way he cares for his body. I mean, he's keeping himself tip top.
To the point he wouldn't touch that
That
awful
horrible
Netflix
cake.
cake.
So I in my head agree with all of your picks.
Okay.
But I'm just gonna kind of hope for a couple of more upsets.
Right. Right.
But it's always an exciting week of football. So I'm looking forward to it, even though now I guess there's something to be said for your team not being in it because you can just enjoy the games
Yeah.
without like
You're not living
weeping.
on every play.
But so next week we'll see how we do. So or how it all plays out.
Yes. Yes.
So let's just talk a little bit about last week.
Okay.
And so I do have a fashion fave for last week. And you and I have talked about pink before and how it really looks good
Yep.
on most people. Most people can wear pink. Devonte Smith from the Eagles
Yeah.
wore pink head to toe, and I thought he looked so good. And a couple things that I liked about it. Number one, I am a fan of the skinny pant. I'm a fan of the skinny cropped pant and no socks. I know that's a weird thing, but I like that. So that was
Right.
part of that look. Then I kept really zooming in on the shirt, and I still can't quite understand the shirt because he did not have a tie on, but the
Right.
shirt was like gathered, kind of just sectioned and gathered. I don't know. I can't
Yeah.
tell. But it was very interesting to me. But I really, really thought he looked great. So definite fashion fave for me of last week.
I agreed. I thought he looked incredible.
So good,
Yeah.
right?
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
I have another little fashion. I guess it's not fashion, but appearance wise, I am digging Josh Allen's long hair. His flowing locks for the playoffs. I just think he looks good that way. So I had to
you
throw
know,
that out there.
real quick back to Devontae. I want to say I have a nagging suspicion. I think he might have worn pink on his draft night.
No, you know who? Well, wait, he's not a rookie.
No, no, no.
Is
He's
he a
not a
rookie?
rookie. No, he's not a
Well,
rookie.
maybe he did. We'll have to go back and look. But the Detroit guy, their first rounder that Detroit picked,
Quinyon
he
Mitchell.
wore pink. What was his name?
Quinyon Mitchell.
No. The guy that they picked this year that came out and
Oh,
he wore
Detroit
pink.
is Quinyon plays for Philadelphia. What am I
Yeah,
saying?
no, the Detroit first round pick this year, Terry
Okay.
on or something like that. Anyway, he wore pink, but
Okay.
we'll have to go back and see if Devonte Adams did because you're right, he might have because
Yeah.
I think he's pretty fashionable guy. But my fave was first of all just games Saturday, Sunday, and Monday.
Right.
That was really nice because this week is a long week with no football till Saturday. But my favorite thing that I saw was the 99-yard drive that Houston made when it looked like CJ Stroud was going down for a sack, and just that throw he made was, I don't know how many yards it was, had to be over 50 because then I think they just had like maybe 2 plays to score, but that was an incredible play. It was very, very exciting, and that was my favorite thing that I saw last week. What was yours?
My favorite was just the Rams, considering everything that's going on in LA, because I know how
Yeah.
hard that is when you're kind of distracted. And although they took families with them out to
Yeah.
Arizona,
Yeah.
still though, when the homestead is in danger, and who knows where everyone kind of lives, but I'm sure some of them had, hey,
Oh,
is,
for
is my home
sure.
still there? And so I know how tough that is. And so to play the way they did, it was that was my fave for the week.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
was pretty amazing. My frustration was the Bucks loss.
Yeah.
I mean, so just I will not dwell, I will not take up a lot of time, but I will say this. Number one, I'm tired of people saying, I'm tired of people calling for Todd Bowles' job because I'm sorry. He has been in the playoffs for 5 years now, either as a head coach or a defensive coordinator.
Right.
And yes, people can bash the NFC South all they want, but you yourself have said that it is hard to win in the NFL. So any coach that has done that is a good coach.
Yes.
And he also has gotten people promoted. He clearly has an eye for coaching talent.
Hmm.
Look at Liam Cohen. I was all upset when Canales went to Carolina, but Liam Cohen, hello. So I just think people need to shut the f up about Todd Bowles going anywhere. I think he should stay. I would like to see him stay another couple years and develop Liam Cohen, and then we just have a nice little succession plan. So that's my
Okay.
plan. I'll tell Jason that that's what I
Yes.
would like to see. So Jason Light, if you care, this is what I would like to see. Um, so, you know, the team, we had a great team. We had a really good season. We had injury problems. Not that that's an excuse. A lot of teams did. But what I would just say, my frustration for the Bucks in that game and the whole season has been the secondary.
Mm-hmm.
And if we don't do something to address that in the offseason, we're going to continue to have these problems, because I will say that we could have and should have won that game. I think he was right to go for the field goal with 4+ minutes left, because ideally we could have stopped them. But we gave up 2 third down conversions. And both times it was that passing game down the middle, and we had no one there to stop them.
Mm.
And then as soon as that I was like, this is it. And then the doink. Of course, why does a doink have to? The doink is supposed to not go in. And then, of course, it goes in for Washington. If it was us, it would not have gone in. So, and then my other frustration was, why did ours have to be the only good game?
Yeah.
I mean, why? So
Well,
that's all.
well, that was my frustration, that there was only really one competitive game over the wild card weekend. And look, I know, because it does matter what you do. It is the totality of the season, not just how everyone's playing lately. So I don't really think you can recede as you enter the playoffs. But it just was disappointing, put it that way, that there was really only one game that just was even remotely competitive over the course of the
Yeah.
weekend. So
I fell asleep in the Monday night game. Like,
yeah.
I was like, what is this? Is so boring. I mean, it was exciting for a while, like, oh, look at the Rams go. And then I'm like,
Well, my buddy Dave said one thing, and he said, Darnold's just not the type of guy who, when it starts bad, he can't play himself out of it.
no,
It just
right,
stays on the trajectory
right.
it's on, and that's
Yeah.
just so.
So that's your frustration.
Yes.
Yeah, I actually had that as my flop, bad games. Like,
Okay.
I was all excited, all ready to go, and of course, to watch everything. But again, to have only one competitive game was a little bit of a bummer.
Yeah.
So I'll choose a different flop, and I just think that we're destined to talk about the Cowboys at least once during every podcast.
Right.
But, but I think that another flop for the Cowboys is the way they handled McCarthy.
Yeah.
I mean, holy cow. What is wrong with them? And again, I mean, you cannot possibly pin that season on Mike McCarthy. You can't. And it just seems like Jerry Jones, he's lost his mind. He has lost his mind. So I just think that I think a lot of the coaching carousel is a flop in my mind. You know how I felt about Jared Mayo and
Yeah.
Antonio Pierce, and I feel the same about Mike McCarthy. I think, who's going to fire Jerry Jones? Does his son have the balls to fire his dad? Because that's what's going to have to happen.
No one, no one. And Jerry's the most powerful owner in the whole league, so he's kind of
Ridiculous.
untouchable. Yeah, yeah.
Ridiculous. Well,
Uh,
anyway, so that was my other flop.
so my flop, and I hate to go here, but is Sam Darnold. Unfortunately, he turned back into a pumpkin over just the last 2 weeks. It wasn't just last week; it was the week before against Detroit as well. And he's probably cost himself $200 million. He was looking at a $50 million per year contract the way he was playing throughout the year, and the naysayers were all out there. Okay, well, when is it going to happen? When is he going to regress to the mean? And damn if he didn't do it. And
Yeah.
now, look, no one cried for him. He's made a ton of money. He'll make more money, but now I'm not even sure. Again, I told you, as the player mantra, all it takes is one team, and maybe one team will say, "Hey, he can be our spot starter for this year or whatever." But I don't think he's going to get that big deal that the top level starters were getting, and because he just completely changed the narrative on his whole career.
He
And
did.
then these
He
last two
did.
weeks have just been awful too. And it wasn't just the fact that he didn't play, but looking at his body language, looking at his face,
Agreed.
it's just
Yeah.
how can we give this guy 45 million plus to lead our team? And
Yeah.
it's just unfortunate. It was just a complete disaster. And so
Well,
Yeah.
he's going to be employing a sports therapist when
Right.
he's in the off season.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Geez.
But
Hypnosis.
I feel like Minnesota might keep him though because they'll be able to keep him for cheap now, and who knows what's going to happen with McCarthy. They have no way of knowing if McCarthy's really going to be any good. He didn't take a single snap this year.
Well, look, they
So,
also have Daniel Jones on the roster,
oh, that's true.
and
Yeah,
I would just say, look, they know what his health, McCarthy's health is, but like you said, you can't count on anything. But I would hate to be in a situation where I had two quarterbacks where maybe I didn't feel great about them, and McCarthy competing to be my, because everywhere else I'm sure they feel like they kind of have a win now team. They have a good enough defense. They have some
true.
stud players on
Yeah,
offense, and so
for
it's like you
sure.
gotta, okay, he had this great year, but in crunch time it wasn't good enough. And so if we can upgrade that position and not have to go through the growing pains of a first year starter, what's essentially this guy's rookie year,
Yeah.
uh, then we can. So I at least be more creative in the off season and see what the other options are out there, I guess is what I'm
Well,
saying.
there's a lot of options out there. You know who else turned into a pumpkin was Russell Wilson.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, he sure
Yikes.
did. Yeah.
Yikes. Yikes. Yikes.
Yeah.
So, I was looking at something today where there's about 20 free agent quarterbacks who are out there, none of whom are like super exciting, but you've got Darnold and Justin Fields and Russell Wilson
Right.
and Jameis, Daniel Jones,
Yeah.
um, Andy Dalton. Like, there's a lot of those guys that are going to be floating around this year, and because of the not super strong QB draft coming up, it will be interesting to see where everybody kind of shakes down and falls, how it all falls into place. But um, yeah, you're right. That was a flop.
Well,
He and Russell,
that's the cool part about the NFL. There's different ways to win. And if you don't have a world beater at quarterback, look, I think the Eagles are the perfect, they got a fantastic roster everywhere. You know how much I root for their quarterback, but is he a world beater at that position? No, but he's good enough where he's not going to necessarily lose the game for you. Again,
right?
there's
Yeah,
been rumblings about how things are clicking there the whole year, but he's respected enough by his teammates. He's a leader, and so that's what I think you have to do. But and that's what I'm saying. Darnold's been that guy all year until he wasn't, and so
yeah,
if it works, if you're consistently that guy, and he just wasn't. So I feel,
right.
look, I'm disappointed for him. I wish it had gone well,
Yeah,
but he definitely has cost himself quite a bit of money.
yeah, yeah. I agree. That was sad though.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so we're at time, and it's going to be exciting this weekend. Both,
Yes.
it's now we're at that point where there's a 3 o'clock and an 8 o'clock game in the East Coast. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to take a nap because it's really hard to stay up for those games. But they should be great games. I really can't imagine that they're not all going to be really good
Yeah.
games.
I'd be surprised if they weren't competitive.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm
So
excited.
exciting. Yeah, me too. Vaughn, I hope you feel better.
Thank you.
Yes, you must get rid of this cold before
Yes.
football, before
Yes.
the weekend, because that will not be fun. And we thank everybody for listening to But First Football, and we hope that you will follow along with us on our social media, look for our little shorts on YouTube, and give us a subscribe and like wherever you get your podcasts. And we will see you next week.
All right. See you next week, Kim.
All
Bye.
right. Peace. Go Houston.